Hi, guys.
How have you guys responded to Monday night?
I have no idea. Because Tuesday, they lifted, and we brought them in and showed them the clips, the plays that we had picked out. And I was tried to be teaching. I was critical when it needed to be, and I was praising when I felt like it needed to be. And then we had yesterday off. And so this will be the first time that I've really seen them since, well, I saw them when we did the clips, but this will be the first time there's been any interaction involving basketball. But we didn't play as well as we needed to play. That's the bottom line. Their defense was much stronger than our offense. We took some bad shots in the second half. First half, we turned it over every other time we touched the ball. So there wasn't a lot of praising going on because we didn't play very well.
Roy, last year you guys went on a long run after losing at Virginia late in the year. How much did that loss play into what happened after?
It's a little different. It's strange, because we lost to Virginia at Virginia, and I think Steve's the one that gave me this February 27th last year and February 27th this year. Last year on the bus, I told him, I said, we're still in control. We are in charge of how we finish. And we went on a great run then and won 2 and 3 is 5, and 5 more is 110 in a row. So I did tell him how ironic it was, the same thing, but I was disappointed last year at Virginia, but I think I was more disappointed in how we played this year. And so there are some similarities, but we'll have to wait another week or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 to see what happens.
In your experience, kind of loss late in the regular season have, in effect, a turning point from the postseason, or not so much?
No, I don't know. Last year I think I would have tried to push them to understand that we still were in control of our own destiny if we had won that game. But when you lose, it does exaggerate your feelings quite a bit. But, in 2009, we were 0-2, and I think that was the turning point of the year, is the conversation we had in the locker room. We were 0-2 at Wake Forest. Last year, I think the big thing that got us really going was going to Duke and playing really well and winning over there, and on top of winning here on Monday night against Syracuse, because that was really a tough game for us too. So it differs from year to year, and I don't think, I'll put it this way, I don't know until the season's over with where I can look back and say I think that was the turning point, or really extremely important.
Roy, senior nights are always a big deal, especially for you, I know. Does it complicate things that every other year it's against Duke and all that is added onto it?
Yeah, everybody that's ever breathed wants tickets. That's the way it complicates it. Senior day and Duke, last game of the season, and it usually has a lot of other things riding on it, so it complicates things with trying to balance out one game, because that's still what it is. It's just one game. And I think that that has a lot to do with it. It does give you some enthusiasm. It does give you some momentum and all those kind of things. So it's perhaps more important there. It still just shows up as one game on the record, but it does give you a little enthusiasm to do better. I think we won over there in 2012. I was as enthused as I could possibly be, and and in the very next game, John Henson got hurt in the first round of the ACC tournament, and we didn't win the tournament. And then Kendall gets hurt in the second round of the NCAA. So all that enthusiasm I had sitting there eating my chicken tenders on the bus didn't do any good. But it's complicated because there are a lot of things always. But it basically boils down to one thing: it's still North Carolina against Duke.
Roy, Virginia pushed your offense away from the basket, obviously to negate the size difference, and Duke will probably try to do the same thing. What did your offense didn't do that they was supposed to do?
Didn't set our screen solidly enough, didn't move sharply enough, didn't move hard enough, didn't attack and take care of the basketball. I can give you 100 things, because there's not one thing that I thought we did well. So whatever we did, I didn't like any of it on the offensive end.
Big guys get supposed to get close closer to the basket when they're pushed out far away?
I don't think the big guys worked, but I don't think the little guys or middle-sized guy. I call them big, bigger, and big S, so I don't call them small. I don't think there's anybody on our team that did what we wanted to do offensively in that game, and their defense dominated our offense. I think the big guys have to post up lower. They have to set stronger screens. The perimeter players have to come off the screen stronger. They have to take the ball to the basket and be stronger with the ball and not just lose it. And then when they get there, they have to get the shot that we want. And it's a little bit of a battle all the time. I think that over at Duke, we were fairly successful in the transition game. And against Virginia at Virginia, we weren't successful in the transition game at all. And but I think what it is too is it's ACC basketball. It's home court, road, whatever that factor plays in. It's 19, 20, 21-year-old guys. I don't think you get the same thing from one game to the next, and which is good, because if it did, I'd be sick Saturday. Because if the way we played the other night, if that's the only thing I had to look at, I'd try to figure out a way to start working on my golf game or something, because I didn't like looking at that.
The way Duke uses Jason Tatum before, what's similar about that and what's different from what they did with Winslow 2 years ago?
Winslow was really explosive, but Jason is longer. Perhaps Jason is Justice didn't make a lot of outside shots, but he made probably the two biggest plays in both games we played them were the 2 3-point shots, one at their place and one at here. Jason's more of a distributor than Justice was. Both of them really, really, really gifted players. Jason in the second half, I thought, was just so aggressive, trying to take the ball to the basket, trying to score, looking for a shot. I was probably mad at the way he played in the first half. But again, I can't say anything negative about Justice, because I think he did make the two biggest plays and one in each of those games that sort of changed the outcome of the game, in my opinion.
And presumably with Isaiah available, you game plan differently.
Well, I hope he can play more than 7 minutes or 11 minutes without fouling out. He's got to be able to play the game the way he was playing, ever how many games ago it was, 6 or 7 games ago, because he had a stretch there, 6 or 7 games in a row that his numbers were really outstanding, and he's got to get back to that if we're going to be as good a team as we want to be.
Is he still having issues or with his hamstrings? He's still coming back from that, or is he 100%?
I would think he's 100%, I think that anybody that the first time you've been hurt, you always worry about it more than you do anything else, and you look back at it, it's basically the first time he's ever been hurt, according to him, and I think he's right. He had never missed a practice or a game until this.
Roy, after the
And it was the day before the day before the Duke game when it happened.
Duke did a good job. They were effective against Kennedy about fronting him.
Mhm.
You mentioned after the game you didn't like the way that he moved. Didn't think he moved as well as he could have. Is that similar to what happened on Monday night? You mentioned some of the post issues. And what would you like to see better there?
Faster, harder, quicker, more explosive. I mean, it's a simple game. That's what you can say an adjective, it probably wouldn't be good. You can say so-and-so about it or harp about it or whatever. But in the big-time games, big-time teams, you've got to get your motor operating at a faster, harder, higher level. I mean, that's all it is. You can't go through the motions, and you can't operate on the speed that's comfortable for you. The speed that's comfortable for you may not be good enough to win the game.
Coach, when we ask Justin about his shot, he always goes back to the offseason, the work he put in.
Mm-hmm.
But I would assume you've always looked at him and said he was working on his game before. But he makes it sound like it's a huge difference that even he didn't realize how much more he had to work. Do you see that difference from the last year to before?
Well, I think there is a huge difference. When you come out of high school and you're well recognized, you're pretty cocky. But if you shoot 2 years and shoot 29% for 2 years, that's called reality. And I don't care how much you think you're working, it's not working. I had a famous line that a player used against an opposing coach, but I'm not going to tell you what he said. But this blankety blank ain't working. All right, well, that's what he was told for 2 years. and he was told it by his own. And so I'm so proud of him because he's found a different way, a different time period, a different amount in everything. There was nothing in my mind technically wrong with his shot. I mean, every time he shot it, I thought it was going in, but it didn't. But he's put in, if you could weigh the amount of sweat that's dripped off of him, he's had several pounds of sweat that he's invested. And everybody thinks they're working hard, but nobody's really working anywhere close to what they can do until somebody pushes them or they see a difference. And I think Justin sees a difference. I think that he was not loafing around, laying on the bed, playing video games. He was working, but there's a whole different kind of thing. And the other thing is the old saying, practice makes perfect is terrible because it's perfect practice makes perfect. And I think that's where he's gotten involved in it too, because he's really put in the stress, the sweat, the attention to detail, and knock on wood, so far it's paid off for him.
Do you notice anything, I mean, obviously it's going in a lot more, but do you notice anything different with the way it looks? It looks like there might be more arc on his shot this
No.
year.
No.
Not so much, or-
I don't think so. There was nothing wrong with his shot, and I studied it, and we taped it, and there was nothing wrong with his shot. It just, as you said, it didn't go in. But I think that everything you do, the more you do it and the more success you have, it gives you more practice. It gives you more confidence. And I think he's shooting with a great deal more confidence right now, and it's the chicken or egg, what comes first. The shot going in gives you confidence, or the work to put it in to make it go in. But no, I never thought there was one thing wrong with his shot technically at all. It's just shoot him, because if you got the proper technique. And the other thing, he hasn't given himself credit because he's worked better in the weight room too. I think he's physically, he doesn't look like Schwarzenegger by any means, but physically he's better than he was last year. That's made him better defensively. I don't know what his rebound numbers, but I think at times he's rebounded a lot better than he has in the past. His defensive grades are better, so I think he's worked on his body, and that's probably a part of it too. Freshman year, I think he got worn down a little bit, and that the tired effect, lack of stamina may affect your shot more than anything too.
He's gotten some attention recently for Player of the Year talk and this and that. Where do you think he belongs in that conversation?
I think he belongs in the conversation. I think he's really done some big time things for us, and so I definitely think he belongs in the conversation. I get to vote. Do I vote on the Player of the Year too, or just the teams? Yeah, I get to vote by midnight Saturday, and I will do it. I won't forget it.
It's a short press conference on Saturday, you'll know why. You get the vote by midnight, so. Game ends around 10:20.
That's right. That's right.
When a guy like Justin has to become that guy who's also expected to score, expected to contribute, what kind of adjustment is that? How has he?
It's hard. It's pretty easy to be that third or fourth option. The other team's best defensive player is assigned to somebody else, and the best help guy is assigned to somebody else, and the second best defender is assigned to somebody else. And he hasn't had that luxury this year. It's been assigned to him. He's gotten the best defender in just about every game. And that in itself gives you a little more confidence, though, too. No, it's much harder. If you're the fifth guy that they talk about, you're out there sort of running around. It's a comfortable life. If you're the first guy that everybody's talking about, they go with you to the water fountain.
How much has his emergence helped Joel not having?
I'm sorry, how much?
How much has Justin's emergence sort of helped Joel not having to always be the guy counted on to score all the time? He can sort of depend on Justin a little bit.
Well, I think that they've handled it very, very well. It's been a shared thing. I think one of the two of them feel like that more so than anybody else on our team does. And Joel had a little bit of it last year with Marcus, except they also had Bryce, who was a different animal up front too. But I think they've done a nice job of handling it together. I think they more or less like the fact that the other one gets a little bit of attention too, instead of one of them getting all of the attention. And but they so far they have produced. They're our two leading scorers and two leading shooters from three-point line, and they've taken the most three-point shots, and so they've basically faced it all year and done pretty well with it.
When you have, you're preparing for a senior game, you're gonna have maybe a walk-on start. Does it affect your preparation? You have to adjust things a little bit as far as the amount of time they get the day or two before practice or before the game?
Not much. You know, I tell them the day before who's going to start, and so that way they won't sleep if that's what happens to them. But we go over it 2 or 3 possessions, and I'm over there nervous, hoping we're not down 27-0, you know, that kind of thing. But for the most part, they've handled it really, really well during the time period that. And I'll start all 5 of them, you know, and how long they go depends on how well they do. But
Do you have a favorite walk-on story from that couple of minutes they get?
What's that?
Better be number 4.
Walk-on story of my own son, yeah. I was mad. They tried to take advantage of him. I was ready to go down and fight somebody, but I was too smart for that. But it's what the other coach should have done. But no, my favorite moment of any walk-on is, of course, of Scott and getting to see him before the game. And I get too emotional. But when you've played for me for 4 years, Jiminy Christmas, you've put up with a lot of BS. You put up with a lot of crap. And so it's a day that it stresses me out. I wish I didn't get so emotional. I really do. But Scott's year, it was really something because we played at Iowa State on Saturday night. And then I got the plane to bring me so I could be here on Sunday. And I was so thankful that I was able to be here. And I'm pretty doggone thankful that we won at Iowa State, too, so I was in a better frame of mind. That made it a heck of a lot better. But, you know, senior day is not I felt for the walk-ons, but you also feel for those guys who've been with you for 4 years. And, I mean, I'm fairly corny and low-key and all that stuff, but I can be a guy that's not fun to be around if you don't try to do what I want you to do. And I push guys harder than most of them have ever been comfortable. And so when a guy hangs in there with me for 4 years, it's a pretty special place.
How about the guys who've been here for 6 years?
He had a 2-year break. I ain't giving him credit for that. He had a 2 years off. But no, he's been a great kid. He's been a great kid. It'll be hard, and you know, for me, it's the impact that a coach can have, and you hope that you have, and that always worries me. That I hope that the impact has been a very positive one, and here at the end, you know, I lay awake at night and say, God, what did I say to him on this date, and what did I say to him on that day? Did I scar the kid for life? You know, those kind of things. But it's a stressful time for me.
What kind of impact has Stillman White had on this program? Because he has such a unique path.
Well, you know, there's different ways you can look at impacts. I mean, Tyler Hansbrough had an impact because he won 1 million games and shot more free throws and should have shot 100 million more. But Stillman has been a very important part of the last 2 or 3 years preparing our guys to get ready to play, because that's been his role. His freshman year, he was thrust in the spot of not preparing anybody else, getting himself prepared. And I still believe that if we had been able just to get to the Final Four, it would have been one of the great stories of all time. I really believe that. And but we didn't. But for us and for me, it was something that I thought he did pretty doggone well. And so you remember that. And you know, he's had some health problems with his foot when he came back, and he's fought all of them. He's been pretty doggone good.
Coach, a little off topic. I'm working on a story on Marcus's shot from last year's national title game. I recently talked to him, and he talked in depth about how when his basketball career ends, how he's gonna look back on that shot. I wonder, when your coaching career ends, how will you look back on his shot, and what place do you think it has in Final Four history?
You know, I told Michael in the locker room after he spoke to the team, I said, if we'd have gotten the game to overtime and won the sucker, your shot would have been the second most famous in Carolina basketball history. It's an unbelievable shot. The focus, to the will. They used to say Arnold Palmer willed the ball into the hole. And I think that Marcus willed that ball to go in. The offensive rebounding basket he got a couple minutes earlier was probably just as difficult a shot. But the way he had to contort his body, and you watch and look at the pictures of that, it's just unbelievable. So it'll be one of those shots and memories that I'll always say I wish, because it's not what it could have been. If we had gotten the game into overtime and won the game, then it would have been beyond my imagination. But it was one big-time shot. I kept telling him we're going to be there at the end. Just believe me, trust me, we're going to be there at the end. And he made the ball go in the basket, and we had a shot.
Coach, you talk about that perfect practice for Justin and how that would help his game. What has he done different in practice this year to get closer to that perfect practice?
It's easy. It's the sweat. That's all it is. He's worked hard in the weight room to give him more muscle, stronger, hopefully more explosive body. But all it's been is just sweat. He's been willing to put in the time, and it's concentrated time. A guy can go in the gym and shoot around for an hour and get nothing accomplished. And another guy can go in the gym for 10 minutes and get 10 times more accomplished than that guy was in there for an hour. So it's been concentrated. I mean, it's been focused practice, and I think that's it's not always easy. I mean, he's been in the gym a lot of different hours and a lot of different time periods. He's had managers, a lot of guys getting rebounds for him.
Royce, the numbers would say that Grayson Allen maybe isn't being as aggressive this year compared to last year. He's taking a higher percentage of three-pointers this year, not getting to the foul line as much. What have you seen, in the films? And I mean, is the eye test, does it say he's not being as aggressive, or maybe his role is just...
It depends on which game you're watching. Now, when I'm sitting at Cameron, the sucker made 4 threes in the first half. I thought he was pretty daggum aggressive, so I didn't care if he... As a matter of fact, I wish he had driven it to the baseline. It only counted 2. But no, that game, which I needless to say, I prepared for it, was involved in it, watched it afterwards, watched it again last night. I mean, I thought he was extremely aggressive and just maybe not aggressive in taking the ball to the basket and getting to the free throw line. I'd have to look and see how many threes he's taken this year compared to last year or what his percentages are. But in our game, he took 2 shots that, he didn't hesitate, and it's almost, if it hadn't made the sucker, I would have said I was glad he took the shot, but he did make them. So I think, you'd have to evaluate all of that. But that night, what did he make, 4? I know he made 4 in the first half, didn't he?
Yeah, and then with 5, I think, 6.
Wasn't it 4 in the first half? Yeah, so if he's any more aggressive than that, they're going to put him in that ring with the cage around the thing. What is that, WFM? What is that? WWW. I don't know. WWF. See, I don't know.
Confuse him with that.
I don't know. I've never watched that crap either.
Wow.
I never
Anybody
had.
else? No, that's a good place to
Is that a good one to end off?